Hello children, I hope you all must be fine at your home and eager to learn something new, something interesting. So, our topic for class 6 chemistry is the nature of matter. This topic we will be taking today, the nature of matter. Children, in our daily life, we come across a wide variety of things. Some of these things are living, some are non-living. In general, we can say that all the things, all the substances are made up of a particular kind of material. Means according to chemistry, all the substances are composed of matter. So here in this topic, we will be learning about matter, different states of matter, classification of matter, interconversion of matter. But before learning about these topics, we should know what is matter. So, in short, I will tell matter is anything that occupies space, then it has mass and can be perceived by senses. Okay, suppose I am holding a chalk or I am keeping this duster on my hand. So you can see that this duster has occupied space. It has mass also. You people can see this, I can see. That means it can be perceived by sense. And we all know duster is a solid. These properties are applicable for air also. Air is also a matter, isn't it? Because we cannot see, but it is occupying space. Whenever we are blowing balloon, you can see it is expanding. And if you want to weigh an empty balloon, means inflated one and deflated one, then also you can experience that it has mass. We can feel air, that means it can be perceived by senses. So these are not only the properties of matter, but also this can be the definition of matter. Alright, now there are many ways of classifying this matter. One can be, as I said, that things can be living and non-living. So we can classify this matter as naturally occurring. Plants are naturally occurring, fruits, wood. And second one can be man-made. Okay, matter can be naturally occurring or it can be man-made. Here if you want, you can note down fruits, plants, these can be the example of naturally occurring. Man-made can be paper, nylon. These are man-made materials. Okay, these are materials. Don't get confused with material and object. Through paper, if paper is a material, you can make an object book, right? So, material and object. Materials are used to make object. So, this is one way of classifying matter. But if you want to classify matter on the basis of its composition, then there are three states of matter, namely solid, liquid and gas. I think in your previous class you must have learned about these three states of matter. Here I will be comparing these three states of matter by taking certain properties. But before that, you should know what are molecules and what are atoms, so that it will be easy for you to understand that how we can compare these three states of matter. See, molecule is a very tiny particle of matter. It can exist independently. And John Dalton, he discovered that these molecules are made up of still smaller particles. Okay, these are much smaller. So in short, we can say that atom is the smallest particle of matter, because molecules are made up of atom and atoms are still smaller. That means atom are the smallest particle of matter. Now related to these terms, two more terms I would like to tell you: intermolecular space and intermolecular force of attraction. You should be aware of these two terms also: intermolecular space and intermolecular force of attraction. This will help you to understand the molecular composition of different state of matter, these three state of matter. Force of attraction, right? So these are two terms which are related with molecular composition of these three states of matter. One is intermolecular space, second one is intermolecular force of attraction. See, we all know that these atoms and molecules are very small. Suppose this duster is made up of so many molecules, so many atoms. And if I want to give a pictorial representation, so this way I will draw that these are the molecules present in a duster. Okay, these are the molecules present in a duster. So the space between these molecules is intermolecular force. This is one molecule, this is another molecule, and the space between these molecules is known as intermolecular space. Then secondly, they are held together by a force of attraction. This force of attraction is present between these two molecules or these two molecules or any two molecules. So we call it intermolecular force of attraction. Now if I will compare the properties of solid, liquid and gas, you will be able to understand what is intermolecular force of attraction and what is intermolecular space. See, these two terms, they are applicable in human life also. You must be wondering how these words are interrelated with human life. See, space, whenever the space is more, like if take an example of a family, if people are not talking with each other, space is there, so what will happen? Attraction will be less. So what we should do? We should never let space increase in a family. We should always try to increase force of attraction so that we can resolve the issues. Okay, let us come back to our topic, that is solid. Suppose if you want to compare these solid, liquid, gases on the basis of their molecules. Now this word is clear to you because I told you that molecule is a very small particle of a matter. So here molecules are closely packed, here loosely packed, and here very loosely packed. Okay, so the nature of molecules in solid, it is closely packed in solid, loosely packed in liquid and very loosely packed in gases. Why? What is the reason? Because here the intermolecular space is very less, force of attraction is very high. In case of liquid, the intermolecular space is somewhat more than solid but less than gas. Similar is the case with intermolecular force of attraction. It is more, okay, it is more as compared to gas and less as compared to solid. Intermolecular force of attraction. And here intermolecular force of attraction is very, very less, negligible. That's why these molecules are very loosely packed and free to move anywhere. Whenever we are using a perfume, we can see the fragrance spread in all the room. Why? Because the gas particles are very loosely packed. Whatever space is available to them, they will occupy the entire space. So this is about the molecule. Now if you will compare the density, of these three states of matter, these solid will have high density, liquids will have medium density, and gases will have very low density. Why? Because density is equal to mass upon volume. I think you must be familiar with this formula. So when the particles are free to move anywhere, that means they will occupy large volume. And when they will occupy large volume, that means their density will be very less, because density is denoted by rho, which is equal to mass upon volume. More volume, less density. For gases, the volume is more. Solids, they are compact. That means less volume, high density. So So this way you can correlate the density of these three states of matter. Now you all are aware that solids, if you want to see the shape or volume, then we all know for solid it is fixed. Isn't it? Solids have definite shape, definite volume. But for liquid, shape is not fixed. Isn't it? No definite shape. Liquids have no definite shape. Then gases have no definite shape. Is it same? Will it be same for volume for liquids and gases? No, because liquids have definite volume. Whenever we are buying milk, petrol, oil, then we are telling the volume how much amount of milk, oil, petrol or these type of liquids we want to buy. That means liquids have definite volume. And gases, they do not have no definite volume, or instead of this word you can also write down indefinite. Okay. So now children, I hope these properties you must have followed. The different properties of solid, liquid and gases we have discussed. Let us move on our next topic, which is change of state of matter. Okay, change of state of matter. Change of state of matter means these states of matter are interconvertible, means one state of matter can be converted into another. So the another way of writing this topic is interconversion of matter. Okay, I'll take a very common example. All of you have seen ice, isn't it? It is not a new thing. Ice. What is ice actually? It is solid form of water. The moment you are taking out ice from the refrigerator and allow it to keep it at room temperature, what happens? It will get converted into water. Now what is this water? It is liquid form of H2O. H2O is a chemical formula of water. Again, if this water is allowed to heat, means you have to heat till it starts boiling, so that you will get steam. This steam is gaseous state of matter. So this is how one state of matter can be converted into another state of matter. But remember children, that all the substances cannot be converted. This is not applicable for all the substances. Water is a unique substance. It exists in all the three states of matter. But this change of state of matter is not possible, means without changing the condition you cannot change the state of matter. Here what condition we have changed? We have subjected this ice to high temperature. This symbol is we are using for heat. Means if you are heating ice, you will get water. On further heating water, you will get steam. The other way, is it possible? Suppose you want to convert this steam into water. Is it possible? Just remember the water cycle which you have learned in your primary classes. The steam is cooled down, it is condensed. So by cooling steam it is possible to convert it into water. And further, if you are cooling, that means what you have to do? You have to keep this water inside your refrigerator. It will cool down and it will give you ice. So change of state is possible, means one state of matter can be converted into another state of matter either by changing temperature, and in some cases we are also changing the pressure. Okay, this you will be learning in high classes. So these two conditions are important for change of state of matter. These are the important conditions, that by subjecting or by changing the temperature of a particular state, it can be converted into another state of matter. Now what is the chemistry behind this? How the ice is changing into water, or how water is changing into steam? Actually, when we are heating water, then what happens? This heat weakens the force of attraction. Now you all know what is force of attraction, because I told you that the attraction between the molecules, that is weakened by this heat. So the molecules, they start separating, they start moving far apart, and when the space increases, the solid changes into liquid. When the space further increases, the water changes into steam. So this is the chemistry behind the interconversion of ice into water and water into steam. The opposite takes place when we are cooling. The molecules, they start coming closer. The structures start becoming compact, and as a result we are getting a definite shape of ice. Okay, so this is change of state of matter. Now after learning about change of state of matter, as I told that there are various ways of classifying matter. One, I told you that we can classify them as naturally occurring and man-made. The another way is that we can classify this matter as pure substance and impure substance. First, matter is classified as living and non-living, which I had told you in my introduction, that so many substances we see around, and these are living and non-living. Living I will not discuss, because that we are going to learn in separate subject, biology. Here non-living things, they are further classified as pure substances and impure substances. Then pure substance doesn't mean, if somebody is saying pure water, pure milk, doesn't mean, according to chemistry, these are not pure substances. According to chemistry, pure substances are elements and compound. Both these terms are new for you, because till now we have discussed about states of matter, about atom, about molecules. But now I will be telling you about elements and compounds. Both are considered as pure substance according to chemistry, and impure substances, mixture. If I will ask, give an example of mixture, there are many mixtures. Jam, jellies, ice cream, these all are mixture. Most of the food items which we are eating, they all are mixture. So this we will be dealing separately. But first, let us discuss about elements and compounds. Both are pure substance. Element is that pure substance which is made up of only one kind of atom. Suppose I am saying hydrogen is an element, oxygen is an element, carbon is an element, nitrogen is an element. Children, I am not writing the short forms of these elements. These are actually the symbols. In chemistry, the short form used for writing element is symbols. So I have not written any short form. I have written symbols of these elements. You will be learning these symbols and formulas later. So hydrogen, oxygen, carbon, nitrogen, these are example of elements, and these elements are made up of only one kind of atom. By this, what I mean, that if you are considering hydrogen element, so it is made up of only one kind of atom. Only hydrogen atom will be present in hydrogen element. Only oxygen atoms will be present in oxygen element. But suppose through chemical reaction these two elements are combining and they are forming H2O. Now what is H2O? It is water. Okay, this water is a very good example of compound. Here as an example you can write down water, you can write down carbon dioxide. How do we get compound? Whenever elements they combine chemically in a definite ratio, then we get compound. These are the common examples, water and carbon dioxide. There are so many compounds in chemistry, but these are the most common one, and these are the example of elements. Both are considered as pure substance. Okay, but in chemistry there are near about 118 elements. Okay, so it is not easy to study about these 118 elements. So what we have done? We have further classified them. Like whenever you are sitting in a classroom, whenever you are taking admission, school is not only allotting you a class, but at the same time they are telling you the section also. We are classifying students in various sections. Why? Because it's not possible to accommodate all the students in a single room. Then even after separating you people in a section, suppose competitions are conducted, then we are further classifying you people in the like houses are given in various schools. So in the same way, these elements are further classified into 4 classes in order to study them in a convenient way. So these elements are classified as metals, non-metals, metalloids, and the last one is noble gases. The last class is noble gases. If you are able to see periodic table, then you will find that these noble gases are placed at the end of the periodic table, means 18th group. In all there are 18 groups. These elements are arranged in 18 groups. So accordingly we have classified them. Scientific thinkers, they want that study should be done in a systematic and convenient way. So these elements are further classified into metals, non-metals, metalloids, noble gases. Now what are metals? Metals are electropositive elements. This word seems to be very heavy for you people, because till now you have seen that gold is a metal, silver is a metal, aluminum is a metal, copper is a metal. We were not knowing that these are electropositive. But according to chemistry, if you want to define metals, metals are electropositive. What is the meaning of this electropositive? Whenever any element atom is able to lose electron, when the atom is losing electron, means giving its electron to another atom, then we call it electropositive. And non-metals, they readily accept the electrons, so we call them electronegative. Non-metals are electronegative elements. All these are elements, remember children. Whether it is a metal, non-metal, metalloid or noble gases, these all are elements. And in all there are 118 elements. These are electropositive, these are electronegative, and metalloids are those elements which shows characters of both, means characteristics of both metals as well as non-metals. So such elements are known as metalloids. And these noble gases, from the name itself it is clear, these are very noble, means they don't show any reactivity, they don't react under normal conditions. That's the reason we are calling them noble. And the reason for calling them gas is they exist in gaseous state of matter. They are also called rare gases. Okay, they are also another name for noble gases, rare gases, inert gases, because they don't react under normal condition. Compounds, there are so many compounds, but still I will tell you the 2 basic classes of compound. Let me write down. Compound can be classified as inorganic compound and organic compound. Whenever a compound has carbon, then it becomes organic. Compound containing carbon atom is known as organic compound. Carbon has a property of self-linking. In chemistry we call it catenation. Again this you will be learning in higher classes. So this organic compound means, for class 6 you can understand that organic compounds are those compounds which contain carbon, oxygen and hydrogen, and rest of the compounds. For example, you can take an example of common salt, sodium chloride. So it will be considered as inorganic because sodium chloride does not have any carbon. But if you will consider glucose, glucose contains carbon. The formula is C6H12O6. It is having carbon as well as hydrogen as well as oxygen. So glucose is will be considered as an example of organic compound. Sodium chloride, common salt is inorganic compound. Next, let us come on mixture. These mixtures are impure substances. Okay, these mixtures are impure substances. Why? I will tell you why they are considered as impure. Because mixture does not require any definite amount of components. Suppose you want to mix iron and sulfur, this iron and sulfur can give you a mixture as well as a compound. The only thing, it will give the desired result depending on its condition. Simply if you are taking a handful of iron fillings and some amount of sulfur, mixing them without heating, without undergoing any chemical reaction, so you will get a mixture. But suppose you are taking a particular amount of iron, particular amount of sulfur, heating them, then they will get a chance of chemical combination and you will get a compound with the name iron sulfide. Okay, so mixture is the substance where components can be mixed in any amount and the properties of the constituent does not changes whenever you are making mixture. It is very easy to separate the constituent from the mixture. In compound it is not possible. What is a compound? Suppose you want to separate oxygen and hydrogen, then it won't be possible. By physical method like boiling, you cannot separate hydrogen and oxygen, isn't it? Because water is a compound. So mixture is further classified into homogeneous mixture and heterogeneous mixture. Homo means uniform. Remember this? Homo means uniform, genus means composition. If you want, you can note down within bracket uniform composition. And hetero means non-uniform composition. I will give you one example so that you will get a clear difference between homogeneous and heterogeneous. Suppose you are taking a glass of water and adding a teaspoonful of sugar. If sugar is not available, you can take salt also, but I know both the things are readily available. So either sugar or salt you can add in a glass of water, then stir it. You will get a solution which is uniform. Means without tasting you cannot say whether it is a clear water or it is a salt solution or it is a sugar solution. So such type of mixture are known as homogeneous because they have uniform composition. On the other hand, suppose you are mixing some amount of sand or mud or this chalk powder, if you are adding in water, and even after stirring it hard for a longer time, the moment you will allow it to stand, all the solid part will settle down. Solid part means solute will settle down. Okay, so this can be the example of heterogeneous solution where the composition is non-uniform. I hope it is clear that pure substance can be classified as element and compound, and impure substances are known as mixture because they do not have fixed ratio. Got it, children? So I hope you must have followed this topic. Thank you.